Advanced Soltech ger ut en obligation med 8,25% i årlig ränta. Ni har sett Advanced Soltech här tidigare när jag berättat lite grann om bolaget. Nu kommer vi uppdatera oss lite grann på det här erbjudandet och 4:e gången man tar in pengar. Och sen har vi också med oss finbesök från Kina. Men jag gör som så här att jag lämnar över ordet till Fredrik Tillander och det fina uppdraget att på våra gäster helt enkelt.
Tack Niklas, tack så mycket. Fredrik Tillander heter jag. Jag är VD för Advanced Soltech Sweden AB. Och även styrelseordförande i Soltech Energy Sweden AB som är moderbolag till Advanced Soltech, alltså emittenten. Jag kommer att fortsätta på engelska så att mina kinesiska gäster eller våra kinesiska gäster får vara med i konversationen. So on my left side here I have Ben Wu. Ben is the CEO of our Chinese partner Advanced Solar Power and he's also the CEO of our Chinese joint venture ASRE. On my left side, I have Gang Bao. He is the COO of our Chinese venture, ASRE.
Mm-hmm. It's really nice to have you here. Welcome to Sweden.
Thank you.
This is the 4th time you raise money. This is the 2nd time here in the studio. Frederick, give us an update since the last time we were here.
Well, I think we were here, if I do recall, I think in February we were here. And we issued then a bond. And since then, or actually since June, I would say we have increased our installed capacity from about 32 megawatt up to 52. So quite a significant capacity increase in connected capacity in China for us.
And you said something interesting before we just started the tape, that the 52 megawatts. How much is China? How the installed base in China compared to the world base?
Well, I think the installed base of solar energy in China was in 2017 over 52 gigawatt, and the total installed base in the world was about 100 gigawatt. So China had approximately over 50% of the world market was installed in China in 2017.
Mm. That's kind of an interesting figure. You see that there is some real growth in China. Yeah. You recently raised capital, and this will be the 4th time, as I just said.
Yes.
How much money will you need in the end to reach your goals?
Well, I mean, we have a goal of 605 megawatt for the period, meaning that by 2021, our target is to have 605 megawatt installed. That should be fully connected to the grid and income generating from 2022. And that is a total investment as an entire package of approximately slightly below 4 billion Swedish crowns. And that will be financed in different batches as we proceed. We have put in approximately 200 million Swedish crowns in equity money so far. That has been provided by ASP and Soltech, the owners. And we have also issued, as we said, 3 bonds. And those bonds have yielded so far around 370 million crowns. So our strategy is really to fund with equity money, with bonds, and also, as we proceed, with local bank loans in China. And we are also reviewing different leasing solutions locally in China.
Mm. What do you need to accomplish to be able to raise money, the bank loans in China?
Well, I think we have a bank loan currently in China. We are working on that, and maybe Ben can elaborate a little bit more on that. It's his background.
Ben, for China, for money, for the banks, what are they telling you when you go into the bank in China? What do you need to do?
Well, just like any other banks in the world, you need to have very good credit rating within the bank, and also the bank needs to understand your business model, where the cash will come from, how stable your cash flow will be. And as a matter of fact, currently ASRE already has a bank loan from a very big, large Chinese bank called Bank of China. And we are also talking to 2 other local Chinese banks to get more loans from the local banks.
Mm. Bank of China exists just a couple of 100 meters from here, in Stockholm as well. Yes. I've seen it.
Yes.
Okay, how will you use the money that you raise? You said that you will have an install base of above 600 megawatts. You have 52 today. The global install base, global growth, it's a huge install base that you're seeing ahead of you, and you will need 4 billion Swedish crowns. How much have you taken in up to this date of the 4 billion crowns?
Well, until to date, we have invested slightly over 565 million Swedish crowns. And that is about 200 million in equity and 365 million in bond. And in this portion, we also have a bank loan equaling 34 million from Bank of China. So that's our package. And that so far does not contain the money that we are raising from this bond that we're currently working on.
So how will you use this money? Is it just to install new megawatts, new bases in China?
Yeah, I think we have an order base in China today that's close to 30 megawatt, and so basically we have orders for all the money we can raise in this round.
I said that this was the fourth time that you raised money. We have a graph, and I'll show you to see that you took in 2016, and we have the fourth one coming up now.
Yeah.
In this graph, just tell us more about from 2 megawatt to 52 megawatts. It's a huge increase. Yeah. What do we see here?
Well, I think what we're seeing, we started with, in 2016 we issued our first bond. Then we had slightly over 2 megawatt in installed base, and we did that by ourselves. But prior to actually investing in that, or actually prior to raising the bond, I should say, we invested some 50 million crowns together, ASP and Soltec, the owners of the venture, to try out the market, to make sure that everything was working according to plan. All the financial structure, all the legal structure around this, contractual issues, etc. We sorted out prior to asking the market for any money. So from there on, we now we have a very functional structure, and we are proceeding now with bonds and equity and continued local bank loans in China.
So what is the balance between the installed base and the funding, the money that you raise? Would you be able to further pick up the pace in the installed base if you would have more money now, or is it this is what you can do for now?
No, we can definitely pick up the pace. I mean, our problem is not the sales side. We can sell much more, but we are very careful. We are to make sure that we have the sales in conjunction with the money that we can raise, because you don't want to sign contract with customers and have customers waiting when you cannot make the installation on behalf of the customer. That's not positive.
Can you convert the picture we saw just before from the 2 megawatt to the 52 megawatt into cash terms? What does 52 megawatts mean in terms of revenue and cash flow?
52 megawatt in our world means approximately 70 million crowns in annual continuous revenue on a 12-month rolling basis, and of course this is quite with good upside, with good financial upside.
We have a picture just behind us here as well on the mega real estate. This is one of the things that you're doing in China, but another thing is if you want to change the roof on a building, there is some interesting details here. Tell us more about what you can do if you're going to change the roof.
Well, I think what differentiates ASRE and what we do, ASP as our Chinese partner and Ben and also Soltec, is that we have products that are integrated solutions for buildings. And
tell us integrated, what that really means.
Integrated in our world means that it is a solar solution and it is a wall or a roof material at the same time. So if you go to look at the Chinese building industry or look at other industries, we can actually, if somebody is in the process of changing out the roof or changing out the facade, we can provide a solution where the customer then bears the cost for the traditional material, and we bear the incremental cost for our solar material, which means that, and the customer will still sign a 20-year contract with us, buying all the electricity that the installation generates. And in the end of the day, I think that increases our return on investment even more, relating to in comparison to, I should say, what we have today.
Because that is something I find really interesting, because as you say, if you change the facade, vi kommer inte på engelska ordet, if you change the facade or the roof, you need to do that anyway. And
yes.
Here you can take the additional cost to be able to integrate the solar panels and give the building or the owners the electricity, and the electricity is cheaper than on the market.
Yeah, I think in our solution we give the customer a small discount. So we say to the customer, we borrow your roof and install an installation on your rooftop, and you pay to us, for our solar electricity, you enter into a 20-year contract and you receive 10 to 15% discount on the traditional electricity price. So you get solar electricity, but at a little lower rate than you would buy your normal electricity, and you're tied up to buy this electricity for a period of 20 years.
So what you're actually saying is that you take the additional costs, you're selling the energy to the client, to the owner of the real estate, to a lower price, and what's up for you is a 20 years agreement.
Yes, that's correct.
So no upfront cost and cheaper electricity ongoing for 20 years for the customer.
The customer receives cheaper electricity over the period of time, but no investment cost for him or her initially. That's right.
That sounds good. Yeah. How much revenue will you have in the coming years if you deliver on your investment plan? And let me just take up the graph as well to see the investment plan of the future.
Well, if we deliver on the investment plan and reach our 605 megawatt goal, and which is fully connected by 2020, we should have an annual revenue stream of approximately 1 billion Swedish crowns per annum, based on that.
And I think people are thinking about, this is the fourth time you raise money. It's not even close enough money compared to what you need of 4 billion Swedish crowns. You're talking about 605 megawatts in 2021. You've got 52 today. You have. You're saying that you might install 88 this year, 2018. The number 605 is more than 10 times your install base today. It's a huge leap until 2021. And you need money to do that as well. I think that the viewers might ask, this is a bond, it's 8.25, it's kind of a high interest rate on it compared to negative yields on interest rates in Sweden. Can you just elaborate a bit about the risk? You said 1 billion in cash flow if you reach this goal. How confident are you that you will reach the goal?
Well, I think we are very confident to be able to reach the goal. I think what it has to do with is that, as I said initially, we make good money with current volume, but in the end of the day, I think reaching 605 megawatt is obviously going to be to give us much more revenue and obviously much more profit as well. And I think the proof is really in the pudding. I think it's time for us to prove. But we are very, very confident in terms of the sales, and we feel that if we can raise the money is really the issue for us. Can we raise the money? Then we will definitely reach the goal.
For how long will the money be sufficient, the money that you raise now? And when will we come to a point that the install base is giving you sufficient cash flow in order to feed the new installations as well?
Well, I think, we have in our plan that we every year are going to sell a maximum of 15% of our installed base, and which will very easily said, if we build 4 megawatt and we sell 4 megawatt at the end of the year, we'll reinvest the same money by the beginning of the new year. We can then build 5 megawatt for the 4 megawatts we sold. So that's a way of we can prove that the installations has a commercial value in the market. At the same time, we are priming our pump a little bit. We're getting some extra money in, which I think is an important factor.
But about the install base, do you build build it first and then get the customers, or is it vice versa? I mean, it's the customers building, I guess. So first you have an agreement with the customer and then you build, or
first we sign a rooftop contract with the customer. Now, after having signed the rooftop contract, that regulates the entire transaction with the customer over the 20-year time. Then we register the installation with the Chinese authorities, after which we sign an EPC contract, which is the actual building contract for the installation. And then the installation gets built and it's handed over to ASRE from the EPC provider. And then it's being connected to the grid, starting to generate electricity. And then we start to receive subsidies from the Chinese government at the same time as we start to invoice the customer for the electricity we deliver.
Okay, so Ben, in China, are you building up a backlog with customers saying, we want to do this as well, and you're saying, all right, but you need to wait for some time because we have no capacity at the moment because we got so many installations, but we'll come to you in a couple of months. How do you have a backlog?
Yes.
And what is the progress of the backlog?
Currently we have a backlog of over 100 megawatt. That means we are in different stages of discussion or negotiation with the customers. For the late stage pipeline, that means we could sign the contract within 1 or 2 months. And then we have early stage. That means we are just survey the customer rooftop. We are learning about their business, learning about the customers' usage of electricity.
So, I mean, 100 megawatt in backlog is actually more than you're going to install in 2018 for 88 megawatts. So it's kind of, it's a large backlog.
Yeah.
Okay. Is there anything else you would like to share with the investors?
Well, I think we have touched many of these things that is relevant. I think we receive quite a few questions on China as a country to do business in, and of course one of the things that we get asked reasonably frequent is that what happens, how does the trade war, for instance, with USA and China, how does that influence you? And it's actually it does not influence us at all, because we manufacture, build and deliver and install everything within China. So this does not affect us at all.
But do you get any questions from the Chinese customers coming to you and say, I would like to install this on my building as well? Fredrik said the trade war, the trade tensions are not impacting you at all. But are the customers worried? Are they asking about the trade tension, trade war in China when they come to you?
Well, that's certainly for some industry that export a lot to U.S. That certainly that sector, that industry is people in that industry is worried about the trade war with U.S. But for ASRE, all the major parts are sourced within the China, and our customers are in the China, and we try to pick the customers that are not affected by the trade war. I mean, there are a lot of industries that doesn't do export. They are mainly for domestic.
But I mean, even though they do the exports, they should be incentivized to use your products, because if there is a trade war, if there is tariffs, that means that the products will be more expensive in the US when they import from you. But that might be interesting for your customers to lower the costs, and energy might be one large cost for them, so they should be incentivized by using your products to lower the cost for the goods in order to don't delevering.
I mean, all the customers that are using ASRE's product are basically for that reason, to lower the cost of production.
But China, when we think about China, we think about political risk as well. We think about the Chinese government. Is the risk for the Chinese government as large as some investors maybe in Sweden can think? I mean, you know the Chinese market. Do you have a political tailwind? This is clean energy. This is not a bad company or bad sector. What do you say?
I think we get a lot of questions from potential investors asking about is China a safe place, safe country to make investment? Especially you guys are doing these 20-year contract. So are you potentially, could you be affected by this stability or political risk in China? But let me be very straightforward. I think over the last 30 years, China has developed itself to become number 2 economy in the world. Now, you don't become number 2 economy in the world if your country is politically unstable.
That's a good point.
Okay? And secondly, economic development and reform to be more open has been a center policy for China for the last 30, 40 years. And this will continue to be so because this is what people in China are demanding for, okay? Because the general people have benefited from this economic development and economic reform. be more open, to be a more open country, open society. So I think overall, as a country risk, I would say China is, in fact, is quite low because we are one-party political system. Now you do get not so good side with one party. It's not very democratic. There's no free election. But on the same time, the economic policies has been very consistent. Okay, so if Chinese government decides to say we need to clean up our environment and cutting down on the air pollution, then this policy will be there for 5-10 years. It's not like in other democratic countries with the change in the government regime, then maybe this policy will be forsaken.
So in Sweden,
will be terminated.
So in Sweden, it can be changed of idea every 4 years.
Yeah, every 4 years, and because like in U.S., when the previous president was in place, it was very big on environmental issues, right? And now with the new president in place in U.S., it's a 180-degree change. Mm-hmm. So, can you say which country is more stable in the economic policy? Mm-hmm. I mean. Come back to China, I think we are suffering. China has growing economy for the last 30 years with over double-digit growth. Now we are paying the price on the environment. So we have problems, issues with the air, with the water, and the Chinese citizens. We are becoming more rich, so the citizens are asking the Chinese government to make a difference in these environmental issues. So the Chinese government has issued a set of policies such as support for renewable energy to replace the traditional fossil-based electricity plants, because China currently 70% of electricity generated are from coal, and that certainly needs to be changed.
That certainly needs to be changed. That's interesting because I do, when I listen to you, I realize that you got the political tailwind. I've seen figures that you were roughly 1.4 billion people in China. Mm-hmm. You will grow your middle class with roughly US the next coming 10 years.
Yeah.
And you need to demand better air and decreasing the air pollution.
Yes.
The political tailwind, the regime is on you on this.
Yes.
Right? Okay, so that means lower political risk.
Yeah, I would say, yeah.
And the last question is about the carbon dioxide. Is a hot topic. This is solar energy. Can you just elaborate just a bit what solar energy, how you're going to 10 times, your install base will be a 10-bagger within 2021.
Yeah.
What does that mean in terms of lowering the carbon dioxide?
For each kilowatt hour generated electricity by solar, that means 1 kilogram of carbon dioxide reduction in the emission to the air. So, and with each square meter of rooftop covered with our solar modules, that's equivalent of planting 10 trees.
Okay. Yeah. Nice, and we see them just behind us.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Fredrik, Ben, gang. Thank you very much for this, and thank you for watching this.
Thank you.
Thank you.